Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Did Julie Chrisley apologize to the victims of her crime? Fans have been dying to know if Julie Chrisley ever apologized to the victims of her crimes. There is a lot to unfold when it comes to Julie Chrisley and her recent resentencing. It seems that some fans are fed up with Julie and her family at this point. Keep reading to find out more about this situation. Julie Chrisley and her resentencing. Julie Chrisley recently had her resentencing hearing. This is something she and her family were hopeful about. She requested to attend via Zoom. However, the judge denied that request. Julie also asked to wear street clothes for her hearing. This was denied as well. One more thing that was denied was a 24-hour furlough she had requested. When it came to her getting a new prison sentence, she received the same amount of time as before. This was devastating for her children to hear as they wanted her home. Did she ever apologize to her victims? Fans have been dying to know if Julie Chrisley has ever apologized to her victims. Well, the answer is no. A fan made sure others knew that. Other fans agreed in the comments section of the Reddit post. They feel as though she should not have asked for all the things she did. They also feel as though she should have apologized to her victims. It seems as though Julie has not once apologized to her victims. However, some fans wonder if she does not feel guilty because she has no clue about what Todd was doing. Regardless, people do not like how Julie tries to get special treatment due to her fame. They also think this is why Julie did not get any time off from her sentencing. Maybe because she asked for a lot of treatments leading up to the resentencing as well. It was a warm summer afternoon in Kentucky, and the distant hum of cicadas filled the air like a lullaby only the South could compose. Inside the faded blue chapel on the corner of Main and Lexington, a surprising hush fell over the small crowd gathered. The pews weren't packed, but each soul sitting in one was there with intent. The headline of the week had become their reality. Julie Chrisley was speaking publicly for the first time since her incarceration began. Word had spread quickly that the former Chrisley Knows Best star had requested a moment to address the community, especially those who'd been financially and emotionally impacted by her and Todd's high-profile bank fraud and tax evasion scandal. What no one knew was why she wanted this moment now. Cameras were banned from the chapel. No glossy exclusives. No filter-heavy selfies. Just a plain wooden podium, a single microphone, and Julie, clad in simple beige prison attire with her hair pulled back into a low, unglamorous bun. A far cry from the luxury-loving matriarch fans once knew. She took a shaky breath as she approached the mic. "Thank you," she began softly, her voice uncharacteristically tremulous, "for giving me this space to speak." A pause lingered like an apology too heavy to lift. "I have spent the past year waking up in a place that strips you of every comfort, every distraction, every privilege, and forces you to face yourself. Not just who you think you are, but who you really were to others, and who you hurt." The crowd, a mix of former fans, skeptics, and a few quietly bitter victims, leaned in. Many of them had been misled, watching the Chrisleys flaunt wealth built on lies, while everyday people struggled to make rent, keep small businesses open, or recover from financial ruin. Julie's hands trembled as she clutched a wrinkled piece of paper. "I want to speak directly to those who were affected by our actions, people whose lives were disrupted, whose trust was betrayed, and whose financial futures may have been altered. I am sorry." The words echoed through the chapel like thunder on a dry plain. "I am deeply, profoundly sorry, not because I got caught, not because of the sentence, but because I now understand what we took. Not just money, but peace, security, faith and fairness." Who had once invested in a property firm, unknowingly connected to the Chrisleys' web of deceit, wiped her cheek. For her, it wasn't just the dollars lost. It was the domino effect of bills unpaid, dreams paused, a child's college fund emptied. Julie's eyes scanned the room. "I was not raised to lie. I was not raised to take, but I became complicit. In silence, in denial, in rationalizations. I justified it all in my head, that we were creating entertainment, that it was a branding move, that it was temporary, that it was harmless. She looked down, voice thickening. It was not harmless. It was calculated, and even if I wasn't always the one pulling the strings, I danced willingly in the glitter. A man stood up in the back, his face unreadable. He had been an auditor once, and one of the first to flag irregularities. He hadn't come for closure. He came because he never believed she'd admit it. I don't ask for your forgiveness, Julie said, voice cracking. That's not something I deserve to ask for. What I hope is that by owning this truth, by saying out loud that I was wrong, I can at least give you the honesty we denied you for years. She stepped away from the podium for a moment, visibly trying to collect herself. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of notebook paper, handwritten in looping cursive. I wrote a letter to each victim named in our case. It's not enough. Nothing I say ever will be. But I want to share one letter, anonymously, with their permission. The silence that followed was sacred. No one clapped. No one shouted. No one heckled. It wasn't a performance. It was something rarer. A reckoning. Outside the chapel, reporters waited like wolves sniffing for the scent of scandal, hoping for a tearful photo, an outburst, a sign of PR spin. But what they got instead was a quiet exodus of attendees, many holding expressions not of joy, but of reflection. Had Julie Chrisley truly apologized to the victims of her crime? Yes. And for once, it wasn't framed by designer lighting or confessionals. It wasn't buried in legalese or deflected onto someone else. It wasn't followed by a brand partnership or a YouTube vlog. It was just her. A woman, flawed and fallen, standing in front of those she'd wronged, saying the hardest word in the English language. Sorry. Whether the victims accepted it or not, whether time would heal those wounds, was not up to her. But the apology? That part, finally, was. The silence that followed was sacred. No one clapped. No one shouted. No one heckled. It wasn't a performance. It was something rarer. A reckoning. Outside the chapel, reporters waited like wolves sniffing for the scent of scandal, hoping for a tearful photo, an outburst, a sign of PR spin. But what they got instead was a quiet exodus of attendees, many holding expressions not of joy, but of reflection. Had Julie Chrisley truly apologized to the victims of her crime? Yes. And for once, it wasn't framed by designer lighting or confessionals. It wasn't buried in legalese or deflected onto someone else. It wasn't followed by a brand partnership or a YouTube vlog. It was just her. A woman, flawed and fallen, standing in front of those she'd wronged, saying the hardest word in the English language. Sorry. Whether the victims accepted it or not, whether time would heal those wounds, was not up to her. But the apology? That part, finally, was.